Have you ever wondered how your roulette strategy would work out over thousands of spins, but you lack the skills to write software to test it out? Well, I'm going to show you how to simulate tens of thousands of spins easily and without knowing how to write a single line of code. Let's create the simulator together today on JackAce. What up, donkeys? JackAce here with JackAce.com, where I talk about my three favorite topics: gambling, crypto, and STEM. And today we're going to create a spreadsheet that can simulate thousands of roulette spins in a fraction of a second. And no, you don't need to know how to write Python or C# or Java. You don't even need to purchase Microsoft Excel. All you need is a Google account and the ability to create Google Sheet spreadsheets. And all of that is freely available to all Google and YouTube registered users. So before we get started, let's go over what you're going to need. Most importantly, you're going to need a Google account. And hopefully you already have a Google account. And of course, if you have a Google account, that means you have a YouTube account. And if you have a YouTube account, I feel like now is the perfect time to remind you to like and subscribe. And because these spreadsheets can get a little bit complicated, it helps a lot to have a desktop or a laptop computer. And finally, you're just going to need a basic grasp of how spreadsheets and spreadsheet functions work. So let's get started. What up, donkeys? JackAce here, and we are going to create a roulette simulator spreadsheet from scratch. Let's go ahead and get started. This is going to be our first worksheet. We're going to rename it random. This is going to capture all of our random values. We are going to actually delete all of the columns, B through Z. We only want one column because there's a limitation in Google Sheets where you can't have more than, I think it's 1 million cells. And doing this will allow you to have up to, let's say, 200,000, maybe 250,000 cells. And this will hold all of the random values needed to simulate your trials. So let's start here. We're going to create a cell called wheel type. And then 2 cells below that, index. This is going to be the random indices. And these are going to be column headers. If we scroll down to the bottom, we see we have 1,000 rows. And we're going to add 9,003 rows. So we have a total of 10,003. Now for the wheel type, we are just going to type in 0, the number 0. And for the first random value, we're going to type the equal sign and rand between. And the low value in this random number generator is going to be the contents of cell A2. And instead of just typing A2, we're going to do $A, $2. And the high value is going to be 36. So this is going to generate a random number between 0 and 36. And that's going to correspond to the slots on a single zero roulette wheel. So I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste it all the way to the bottom. And that's going to generate 10,000 different random numbers. Every time I make a change, if I change this to -1, you can see that these random numbers are regenerated with the lowest value being -1. But we're just going to change it back to 0. So here is a sequence of 10,000 different random numbers. And that is the end of this worksheet. Now we're going to add another sheet, and we're going to call this map.
I'm the map. I'm the map.
And this is going to contain the mapping of those indices to roulette numbers. So we're going to have a column named index, and we're going to have a column named roulette number. And then we're going to have a column named win loss result. And we're going to delete the rest of the cells to the right. So we're going to need to delete everything after row 40. And we're going to start this off with -2 is the first number, -1. And we're going to continue this all the way down to the last number, which should get us 36. And the roulette number, here we're going to type in a formula to text. And we're going to copy this cell and paste it to all the values underneath. So these are all text values, and these are all numeric values. So there's a little bit of a difference here. You can see that the text is left justified. And here we're going to hard code the values 000 and 00. If I try to type in 000, you'll see that gets converted to an integer value of 0. So instead of using the integer value, we're going to type in apostrophe 000. That forces it to be a text value. We're going to type in apostrophe 00 here, enter. So these are all text values, and I'm actually going to copy these and paste them on top of themselves using the values only. And so now we don't see that two text formula in here. We just see the raw text values. And the reason why we do this is to just eliminate the number of functions in this spreadsheet, because of the random values on this sheet. There's a lot of calculations going on, and we want to minimize that as much as possible. So if we want to simulate, let's say, betting $1 on the low numbers, that's $1 on 1 through 18, then it's pretty easy for us to enter in the win-loss results. So I'm going to type in 1. That is our net gain when we bet on 1 through 18 if we land on 1. I'm going to paste this value for the values 1 through 18, and everything else is going to get -1. So if you spin a 30, you're going to lose $1. If you spin a 16, you're going to win $1. If you spin 000, you're going to lose $1. And actually, let's add a column to the right. Let's do a little bit of formatting. Just double click to widen the columns. And let's type in a header for the bet. Bet amount for a single zero is going to be the sum of C4 through 40 multiplied by -1. And I'm going to anchor these down with $signs. And so you can see that given these win-loss results, you can see that we've bet a total of $1. Now let's also do this for 00 and 000. So for 00, we would have a bet amount of C3 through C40, but this value would be divided by 2. And for 000, it's going to be C2 to C40, but it's going to be divided by 3. So the number of zeros on a roulette wheel multiplied by your bet size is how much you should be down if you were to spin the number of slots on a roulette wheel. So if you're betting $1 on a 000 roulette wheel, if you spin 39 times, you should be down $3 on average. If you bet $1 on a 00 wheel and you spin it 38 times, you should be down $2 on average. If you bet $1 on a single zero roulette wheel and you spin it 37 times, you should be down $1 on average. So that is what we are seeing here. And I'm going to add another statistic. This is going to be the expected loss. So for single zero, your expected loss should be this same sum, not multiplied by -1, but just divided by the number of slots on that type of wheel, which is 37. So for every spin on a single zero wheel, betting $1 per spin, you should be down 2.7 cents per spin. Now for a 00 wheel, it should be the sum of all possibilities divided by 38, which is 5.26%. And then 000, the expected loss should be the sum of all these results divided by 39, which should be 7.69%. And we see that to be true. So the only thing we've done on this worksheet is define when we win and when we lose. And we can do this with, like, let's say a $5 bet. This is what this would look like for a $5 bet on the low numbers. So here we can see our bet amount is 5. That's correct. Our expected loss is 13 cents per spin on a single zero wheel, 26 cents on a double zero wheel, 38 cents on a triple zero wheel per spin. So we haven't done any simulation yet. We've just mapped our winners and our losers. Do a little bit of formatting there. So now let's do something called trial 1. And actually, let's revert these back to -1 and 1. We're going to look back at the $1 bet on low. So these numbers look right. The bet amounts look right. The expected losses look right. So let's go back to trial 1. We're going to add a column called spin. We're going to add a column called index. We're going to add a column called roulette number. We're going to add a column called win, loss result. And we're going to add a column called running total. So again, I'm going to delete all these columns here. It's pretty important that we do that, especially if we want to have trials that are much larger than 10,000. I'm only using 10,000 because the more trials you run, the longer it takes to recalculate everything in the spreadsheet. We can add them later, but just for simplicity's sake, just for time's sake, I'm just doing 10,000 at a time. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. We only have 1,000 rows. I'm going to add 9,001. So now we have 10,001 rows, and I'm actually going to use a formula here. So I can fill in the 10,000 values here, and I'm actually going to copy this, paste it on top of itself with just the values to get rid of those formulas. That way there's not continuous calculations happening in the background. So now we're going to go copy these 10,000 random values and paste them here in the index column, and we're going to paste values only. And now we're going to use the VLOOKUP formula. We are going to look up the index. So the range here is in the map worksheet, and we're going to use these 3 columns, and we will add anchors to those columns as well. And the index we want to use is the second column right here, which is those text values. So we use the number 2, and is sorted, we type false. So now this index here is being converted to a value that is a text value that corresponds to the roulette number. Now, to show you that this is working, I'm going to regenerate these random numbers. Let's try -1. -1 would correspond to a double zero wheel. And we're going to paste those values here. Paste special values only. If we see a -1 on the left, if we see a -1 in the B column, you can see that this column here, which is the roulette number, is double zero. And we're going to copy this same formula, paste it here in the win-loss result, but instead of the second column, we're going to look at the third column, which is the win-loss result. We're going to paste this all the way down, and you can see all the wins and losses we've incurred. And then finally, in this running total column, we're going to add a formula. The first value is just going to be the first win-loss result. The next row is going to be the previous running total added to the most recent win-loss results. So here you can see we're up 2, we're up 3, we're up 4, then we go back down to 3. And let's populate this all the way down to the bottom. So after 10,000 spins, betting $1 a spin on a 00 wheel, we are down $562. That is pretty close to the 5.26% we would expect to be down. We would expect to be down $526. So we're only off by about 0.4%. So that is our very, very simple simulator. So the next thing we want to do is add a chart, which is relatively easy to do. We're going to go to the trial and we're going to highlight all the columns. Click on Insert, Chart. And we're going to remove all series. For the x-axis, we're just going to add spin. For the series, we're going to add the running total. And we do want to switch this to a line chart. And this is what that graph looks like. We're going to click on these 3 dots and move to its own sheet and rename this sheet to Trial 01 Graph. Pretty easy to see. These are our results for our simple simulation. But what would be more interesting would be to compare this to our expected results. So to do that, we need to add a column here. Called expected result. And this is going to be a little bit of a complicated formula, but we're going to multiply the spin by our expected result per spin. So here we have to add an if statement. It's going to be conditional on the wheel type. So this is our most important value. If this value is equal to 0, then we're going to use the expected loss for a single 0 wheel. Otherwise, if random bang $A $2 is equal to -1, then we're going to use map bang $D 14 $14. Otherwise, we're going to use map bang $D 17, which is the expected loss for a 000 wheel. Use 2 parens to close that off and hit enter. So yeah, that looks accurate. We're going to lose 5.26 cents per spin. And by the end, we're down around $526, which seems pretty accurate. We're pretty far off of that in our trials, so we probably trend much, much higher. Let's go back to the graph. It's actually changed the definition. Let's look at the chart setup. For the series, not only do we want to look at expected result, but we want to look at running total. So here we can see that, yeah, we are trending way higher than what our expected result should be at the end. That's why there's this big discrepancy here. Now, what if we look at a system like Last Tango in Vegas? This was reviewed in September 2023. We are just going to look at the first bet, the $200 bet. You bet $25 straight up on the number 17, $25 on the 4 splits touching the 17, and $75 on the dozen containing the 17. So we have to put this in the map. We saw the 17 wins 27.25, the 16 wins 475, 18 wins 475, 14, and 20 also win 475. All the numbers in the dozen just win $25. And everything else loses 200. And as you can see, our bet amounts look accurate. These expected losses look accurate. We go into the trial chart. This looks pretty accurate. We would expect to be down $105,000. We are down $138,000. Let's take another set of random numbers. I'm going to copy these 10,000 values. These are regenerated every time. I'm going to go back into the index, paste special values. Now we have a whole new set of 10,000 spins. It still has the same expected result, but now we've actually lost more than what we would expect to lose. We are down $176,000. Let's look at the graph. You can see we are way below where we're supposed to be. So that is how to run these simulations and chart the results using just a spreadsheet. So now you know how to create a basic roulette simulator using spreadsheets. We're only able to perform simple simulations with this method, but the results are amazingly accurate. And this same technique can be used to perform something comparable for baccarat, blackjack, and even the single roll bets in craps. And if you're too lazy to create this spreadsheet from scratch, I have a copy of this spreadsheet available for Patreon members. So join my Patreon for access. You'll get access to this spreadsheet as well as several others that I'll be making videos for soon. If you enjoy this video, please remember to like and subscribe. Always gamble responsibly, never play 000 roulette, and peace out, donkeys.